Wonder Woman 84 is a brand new movie out on HBO Max, and it stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Kristen Wiig, and Pedro Pascal. And it's not the worst thing that's happened in 2021 because I did lose $500 on an AMC stock scheme that I was planning to have work out for me. It didn't, but diamond hands, we're going to the moon, baby. And this movie, it does go on for a little bit too long. It's not something that I would tell you to go out and watch if you're not already a superhero fan. And guess where this movie takes place? Can you give me a wild guess on what year you think this movie is? If you were in a camp that understood, yes, this movie takes place in 1984. Yes, it's about Wonder Woman. Okay, let's continue. So it's basically about her. She goes to DC. Well, she's been living in DC for about a while. She's living her life. She's a little bit depressed because her boyfriend's been dead for 70 years. Who wouldn't be depressed if their boyfriend's been dead for 70 years? And then she comes across this character named Maxwell Lord. His character is basically Bruce Almighty with a power complex. He can pretty much make anything happen because he's God. That's basically Maxwell Lord. What else does she do in this movie? Oh, her dead boyfriend comes back because this movie, he can make anything happen. And then Wonder Woman, she holds on to the rock and she's like, I really wish my boyfriend. She didn't say it out loud, but you can tell she was thinking about her ex-boyfriend. Or would you say widowed? Is it widowed if they're not married? No? Just dead boyfriend? Okay, fine. She was trying to reach out to her dead boyfriend. And then Kristen Wiig, she kind of just wishes to be like Diana. Robin Minerva's a character that worships Princess Diana, and then she pretty much wishes to Maxwell that she can have all the qualities that she does. In effect, she pretty much turns into the pseudo version of Cheetah, where she dresses up a little weird. Like all of a sudden, she's like those generic girls. Basically, she's working at this place in DC thinking that she's Indiana Jones collecting relics. She meets Barbara. And then Barbara's a character that's pretty much like, she's your generic character that's been ignored by everybody. And then something great happens to her. And then she takes off those glasses. And then all of a sudden she's got a rocking body. She's got a bunch of dudes noticing her. She made an OnlyFans account. She started making like $2,000 a week. But then that shit went up to like 4 or 5K a day. So this is a very big deal on the internet. And here I am jumping on board because this is what I do. I jump on board to get views. The thing about this thing that's weird, I know that I'm going to be going into deep inside baseball with this, but you guys have to understand, this stuff when I watch movies bothers me. So here's the problem what I didn't like about bringing Chris Pine. I'm okay with bringing Chris Pine back. I just didn't like how they did this. So we're exposed to a character in Maxwell Lord that he can literally make buildings pop up. He can make people die. He can make wishes. This is fucking Bruce Almighty that we're talking about here. The only way to bring back someone is to pull a Get Out. Pretty much when they're replacing someone's brain with someone else's subconscious. I don't like that. The reason why I don't like this is because this is literally a guy that can make buildings and all this stuff pop up out of thin air. Oh, but a dead guy, a dead person is where we draw the line. So Maxwell Lord, he's a character that pretty much, he's a guy that feels like he has something that he needs to prove into the world, that he's not a loser. He could be on top. And on top of this, he's also trying to prove this into the sun. I would imagine someone at his level would really care about like what other people think about him, and especially like his own son. So him trying to please everyone, making the wishes come true and all that, it makes sense to me. There's another thing I didn't like about this movie though. The powers, like Wonder Woman's powers, I knew that. Like I knew she had an invisible jet. I knew she had like, the lasso of truth. I knew that she can fly. But I don't like how this Wonder Woman 1984 movie shows us powers that she doesn't use in Batman vs. Superman or Justice League. So she has an ability in this movie where she's like trying to make a plane disappear and she's like, oh my God, I did this one time with a cup and then she lost it. I was like, okay, very interesting. Why didn't you do that in Batman versus Superman? I would imagine that would be very useful fighting in a fight against Doomsday. Yes or yes? That's what bothers me with it because she's using that. She's like, oh, really? I would imagine making Batman invisible fighting Doomsday could have been fucking useful. One of the great things that no one's going to complain about in this movie is going to be the acting. Like, you really do buy Chris Pine's performance, Gal Gadot's performance, Kristen Wiig even. Like, what I really like about Kristen Wiig, especially in this movie, is that we don't get a lot of her being the bad guy. We get a lot of her being the funny best friend. Just being the bumbling friend with always the cool one-liners, and she has like good advice. That was pretty much Kristen, and she was great on SNL, and just a good comedy writer in her own right. But movies like Mother with Jennifer Lawrence and this one's kind of like broadening her role and what she can do to movies. And Wonder Woman 84 really did push that for her. If you got kids, especially, like young girls and stuff, I would imagine, just show this movie to them. They might dig it. It has a very light tone. Like there's nothing too serious, dark and heavy going on. There's like Wonder Woman saving little girls and throwing them against teddy bears. You get that kind of a movie with this. So now I'm going to talk about what I don't like. All right. So there's a lot of scenes. Specifically with Kristen Wiig, there's a scene when she's fighting Wonder Woman inside of the White House, or one of those houses in DC. I visited that place like once. It's too hot. There's too much trouble, and there's too many people like in suits. I don't go there that often. I want to stand out. That's why I'm in front of a Vegas sign in my living room. Barbara Minerva Cheetah. She kind of looks normal before she gets her powers upgraded. She's pretty much Kristen Wiig in like leopard print. But when she gets her powers upgraded by Maxwell Lord, she kind of looks like garbage. Like, it doesn't look real to me. And on top of that, you can tell they had it all in low lighting because you could tell how bad the CGI would really show it once they had this in brighter lighting. One of the scenes that pulled me out of Wonder Woman is honestly going to be the scene where she's saving children. It's kind of like, she kind of looks like Spider-Man. You know that scene in Spider-Man 2 when he saves children from the car and it almost hits them and they're like, thanks, Mr. Spider-Man. And then like he fucks off. It's kind of like that, but shittier. Basically swinging down just like Spider-Man would do. And as she saves the children, all of a sudden everything just looks fake. And then as she rolls over them, it kind of looks that she's rolling around with like random sex dolls with wigs on them. So by now you guys are probably thinking, all right, enough talking already. We get it. Should we watch this movie or should we not? Honestly, I would probably skip this one and I wouldn't feel like you're missing out on a lot. Like if you decide to skip this movie, you know what? I value my 2.5 hours a little bit too much. I want to rather do something else like invest in my child's future. This movie does have a lot of slow times. You do have a lot of like, I wonder why they had this power here and not show up later. Like you're going to start asking yourself a lot of questions that you would rather not, that would distract you from the movie as you're actually watching it. So yeah, skip it, fuck it. Cook yourself a chicken, who cares? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because if you don't, I will never be able to get a second pair of these pants. And if I don't, then my mother's going to think I'm not worth anything and then she will make me hang myself. And then just say there's only 3 kids in the family. Never even mention me in the family dinners. They're going to take down my graduation photo like nothing fucking happened.